back to Mesilat Yesharim. Good evening, everyone. We're still talking about the tray of alacrity. And we was talking about laziness. We went about how laziness can lead to sin, because as we postpone things, we're lazy, we don't do things, we end up not doing what we should do. And we put off stuff that we should do. Eventually, the Yetzirah uses it. And we finished off with the quote from Shlomo Melech, from Mishlei, that a little bit of, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to lie down, then your poverty shall come as a runner, and your want as an arm. He says this is all about laziness and how laziness leads us into sin. So we continue from there. The Ramchal continues in Mesilat Yesharim, and he says, many times we see with our own eyes that a person has really come to know in his heart his obligation. He has ascertained what he should do to save his soul, what his obligation is in regard to his Creator. Nevertheless, he ignores this knowledge, not because he is unaware of his obligation, not for any other reason than the weight of laziness that overcomes him. He says, we know what we should do, but we're too lazy to do it. He says, I will eat a little, I will sleep a little, or it is difficult for me to leave my house. This is a favorite one for people, Ch6 in the morning. You get a Ch6 in time. I've taken off my shirt, how can I don it again? It's time to go to Mincha or Mariv. I came home, I was hot, I took my shirt off. I cannot put it on again. It's sweaty, I can't. So we all find excuses. The sun is scorching outside, there's too much cold, or it is too raining. And all the rest of the rationalizations, the excuses that fill the mouth of the indolent, that fill the mouth of the lazy. In the meantime, Torah is pushed aside, divine service is neglected, a man abandons his Creator. This is the sense what Shlomo said. Through sloth, the ceiling sinks in, and through indolence, the house leaks. This is in Koheles. So it's going on, it's still going on, that we need to have this tray of alacrity, to go and do things quickly, not to put things off, not to be lazy. And as the Ramchal continues, yet if you ask the lazy man to explain his behavior, he will confront you with numerous dicta of the sages, verses from scripture and rational arguments, all of which instruct him, according to his distorted understanding, to be lenient with himself and maintain his indolent repose. So what is he saying? Here you get people that know enough to say, but there's a leniency. I don't have to go to shul. I can daven at home. It says that if it's uncomfortable, I can do the comfortable thing. I don't have to be uncomfortable. You can find ways to justify being lazy. It's your Yetzirah. Yeah. It overrides the good. It's chasing off the Yetzirah. The Yetzirah says, do what is comfortable. Don't go out and get wet. In the meantime, if you're going to walk from your front door to your car, and from your car to the front door of the shul, how wet are you going to really get? If you do get wet, big deal. Go. Be at the shul. Don't go looking for excuses. Yes, we can find excuses. We can find halakhic ways to justify our excuses. Doesn't mean we should use those excuses. Continues the Ramchal, he fails to see that all these arguments and reasons do not stem from balanced reasoning. Rather, they spring from the source of his laziness, which, as it overpowers him, bends his mind in equal intellect towards his arguments. Right, and there's that famous saying, all the greatest scientific advances in practical engineering have come from lazy people looking to get out of doing work. That lazy people look for better ways to do things, so they don't want to do it the long way around. He's saying, he says, don't let that drive to laziness be what drives your intellect. You need to sometimes go beyond what you think. Hence, he fails to listen to the voice of the wise and those possessing sound judgment. This is the meaning of Shlomo's rebuke. The lazy man thinks himself wiser than 7 men that answer sensibly. Which is from Proverbs. The lazy man, you find, I've got a reason. It doesn't matter what all those chachamim say. There's the Torah says I can do it this way. Why should I go the long way around? Why should I do the thing that puts me out? Let me just do what I'm comfortable with. Indolence does not permit him to hearken in the slightest the words of those who reprove him. Rather believes them ought to be fools who have gone astray, that he alone is wise. Let's talk about the person who says, I've got a halachic reason for what I do. Why should I listen to what those others say? I know better. He's saying, don't listen to that. Don't be the fool. Understand. Listen to the people that come to say, this is what you should be doing. Why aren't you doing it? Go and do it quickly. The Ramchal continues, now you must know that the following is a fundamental time-tested rule in the art of abstinence. Every leniency calls for examination. For although leniency may at times be just and correct, it is most likely one of the deceitful counsels of the Yetzer, which is what you were saying. They look for leniencies not because it's correct, but because it is what a Yetzer Hora is driving us to. So you go searching through enough halachic literature, you'll find somebody that gives you a leniency to do something. You've got 2,000 years worth of literature. You can always find somebody to allow something. It doesn't mean that it should be used. It doesn't mean that it is permitted. Just because somebody once said something does not mean that is a justifiable leniency, or that it is a leniency which is applicable in all times. Sometimes you find a leniency that was applicable for a specific reason or in a specific situation. It does not mean that you can apply it at other times. So don't go looking for leniencies. Do what is correct and do it with alacrity. Therefore, every leniency should be subjected to thorough, meticulous examination. If it still seems justified after such scrutiny, then surely it is valid. But I would add here, that he doesn't say, is not just your scrutiny, but the scrutiny of others. It's like they say, don't be a posek for yourself. Don't be the person who decides for yourself. If you've got a halachic shaila, go and ask somebody else. Because you might just be ruling it that way or think it's reasonable because of the way you think. Rather look at what other people have to say, not just what you think. And when you come to that scrutiny, look at why other people aren't using it. Say to a person, why don't we use the following leniency? What is it about the following leniency that we don't use it? If they say, well, it's just not a common custom, other people do it, and it is justified, then it's fine. They're saying when it comes to the trail of alacrity and the trail of not being lazy, don't look for leniencies. Except that those leniencies need to be examined in great detail before they're ever used. As he says in summation, man must summon a great deal of strength and fortify himself with alacrity and perform the mitzvot because of the weight of indolence that impedes him. You will notice that the angels were praised for possessing this good trait of alacrity. As it is said of them, mighty in strength who do his bidding, hearkening to the voice of his word. This is from Psalms, from Tehillim, Psalm 103, verse 20. And furthermore, it says, and the chayot dash to and fro as the appearance of a flash of lightning, which comes from Yechezkel, which is implying that the chayot, which are one of the higher levels of angels, would rush to do what they had to do. They didn't just do it, they would rush. A flash of lightning, they went to do it. Now man is simply human and not an angel. It is therefore possible for him to achieve the strength of an angel. However, he should certainly strive as much as possible to approach the rank of angels. And King David would praise Hashem for his portion, saying, I hurry without delay to keep his commandments. Also comes from Tehillim. What we find over here says man is not an angel that we can have the strength of an angel. But what he doesn't say, what we find in Nefesh HaChaim of Rav Chaim of Volozhin, he comes and he says that man has the potential to be greater than an angel. An angel doesn't really have a choice in carrying out what it does. That he rushes to carry it out is fantastic for the angels. But a person who rushes to carry out what he has to do and does it has the potential to be greater than an angel, because man is operating with full free will, whereas angels don't have that free will. They don't have the impediment of the Yetzer Hora that they have to overcome. Man, in overcoming the Yetzer Hora, is able to improve himself beyond the ranks of an angel and be even greater. So if we do all our mitzvot with alacrity, as the Ramchal says, and we have this potential to be greater than angels, how much greater can we be when we do it from our own choice? And the choice is not just to do the mitzvah, but to do it with alacrity. So we now start chapter 7. We've just finished chapter 6. And he says the elements. So what does it mean? What are the different parts of this tray of alacrity, this tray of doing things quickly? He starts off, alacrity has two parts. One applies before the performance of mitzvah, and the other after its performance has begun. Regarding the performance, and regarding what does it mean before the performance of the mitzvah? Is that alacrity means that a person should not delay performing a mitzvah. He should do it as soon as he can. Rather, when its time arrives, or its chances before him, or the thought to perform it enters his mind, he should speedily hasten his activity to seize the mitzvah and perform it. So the moment we've got the opportunity to do the mitzvah, don't delay, do it. You're thinking, oh, I've got time to study Torah. Go and study. Oh, it's time to walk to shul. Walk to shul. Don't find excuses to delay. Do it as soon as you can. Do it. You should not allow any time to accumulate in the interim. There will be no greater danger than this. With every passing moment, some new impediment to his good deed may emerge. So that's the problem. Just don't delay, because maybe you will lose the opportunity. Particularly for something that's just come to your hand. And now you can do it. You wait a moment, you may not be able to do it. Do it when you can. Our sages, may their memory be blessed, alert us to the truth of this matter. In reference to the coronation of Shlomo Melech, when King David said to Benyahu, and bring him down to Gihon. And Benyahu answered, Amen, may the Lord say so. Our sages, may their Lord be blessed, may their memory be blessed. Zichron V'Rocha said, quoting from Divrei Hayamim, Cummings said, Rabbi Pinchas, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan of Sephoria, said, was not already stated, behold, a son shall be born to you, who shall be a man of tranquility, only because many accused may present themselves from here to the Gihon, in Bereshit Rabbah. In Bereshit Rabbah, the sages come and said that came and said it. Our sages, so the sages continued, and they warned us with, watch over the matzot, the unleavened bread, Shmot chapter 12, verse 17. When a mitzvah comes your way, you're not allowed to turn sour through delay. So they use the metaphor of watching the matzah. If the matzah was not watched, it was not exactly 18 minutes, it went over, it was not matzah. So they're saying, when a mitzvah comes your way, do it immediately. Watch that mitzvah, do it. Don't give a chance for it to be passed away. And they said, a person should always do a mitzvah as early as possible, for because Lot's older daughter preceded his younger daughter by one night, she preceded her by 4 generations in joining the nation of Israel. So this seems like quite a strange one, because Lot's daughters were drunk so they could sleep with him, thinking the whole world was being destroyed. Now their reasoning wasn't that, no, we want to have children from our father because we want to have children from our father. The reasoning was, the world's been destroyed, it's up to us to repopulate the world, but we have to do our part. So his older daughter went first, and Lot, joined of Israel, came through Ovid, the son of Boaz, and Ruth, the Moabite. Never mind, the sages point out that she's actually a bit of a brazen for calling her son Moab from my father. It's quite a brazen bit of thing. But her children were joined the children of Israel before the children of Amnon through Ruth, the Moabitess. And she ultimately is the ancestress of King David. And it was only later, let's say 4 generations passed, those of Ovid, Yishar, David, and Shlomo, before Lot's younger daughter joined Israel, Rechava, the son of Shlomo and Amma. So we know that Shlomo married lots of women from lots of different nations in order to create peace. And he married Naamah, the Ammonitess was one of them. And he married lots of women, unfortunately. And it led him into sin. He's one of the examples of how don't think you're so righteous, you cannot end up sinning. But with all his great wisdom, he sinned in that way. He's brought his woman in and saved. He converted them. But none of them were really genuine conversions. And even though they'd converted, they continued worshipping idols. And through this, he was led into sin. But so it comes. So they said as early as possible. So because his younger daughter was because his older daughter did the thing first, she did not delay it. Her children joined the children of Israel first. So, and that we see, they bring in Talmud Bavli, Baba Kama, Daf 38b, and Masechta Nazir, Daf 23b. The sages also said, the zealous perform mitzvot at the earliest possible opportunity. Masechta Pesachim, Daf 4a. They further said, a person would always run to perform a mitzvah even on the Shabbos. Brachot 6b. Well, that seems to be maybe a bit contradictory, is that normally say we don't run on Shabbos, we don't need to exert ourselves. We don't need to go running and sweating on Shabbos. We have rest. But so on Shabbos we don't normally run. They say when it involves doing a mitzvah comes to hand and we can only perform the mitzvah through running, then we can run. Because the mitzvah is derasa and the not running is derabana. So we can go to it. And the Midrash states in Vayikra Rabbah, will lead us back to our youthful vigor, that will be filled with zeal as young maidens. It says, among them are maidens beating tambourines. For alacrity is a trait of great perfection which man's nature prevents it from attaining at the present time. They're saying we've got all these things. They're saying this in the Vayikra. The Midrash is stating that through being alacritous, through doing these mitzvot, will bring us back to the state of perfection, to being this, because it's difficult for us. We tend to be tempted into laziness, into following our Yetzer Hara, to maybe delay, have an extra 5 minutes sleep. Or I don't have to do it right now. If I wait 5 minutes, it'll still be there. And then come in 5 minutes time and it's not. One who musters his strength and holds fast to it as best he can will truly attain it in the future world. And the Creator, blessed be He, bestows it upon him as a reward, having striven for it during his days of service. They're saying in the world to come, in the true world, if we tried in this world, if we weren't always that successful, in the world to come, God will give it to us, which will be deserving. Our reward for trying in this world will be to have it for definite in the world to come. We have to be able to achieve this perfection. Alacrity, so this is now we're saying this was now before. Remember we said we had alacrity was broken into two sections. The first section was before the performance. It says that is exemplified by this try of doing it immediately, not waiting, not delaying. And now we're saying the second part is after the performance has begun. So once we started to do the mitzvah, means that before a person has taken out of a mitzvah, he should hasten to complete it. Not as if seeking relief like someone who wishes to be rid of a burden, but for fear lest he not merit to complete it. So once we start doing a mitzvah, we should not allow anything to come in the way. And we see this even though, so if you're busy with one mitzvah, you're not obligated to do another mitzvah until you're finished with the first mitzvah. You do not postpone doing a mitzvah even for another mitzvah. And even that other mitzvah we think is a major mitzvah, and what we're doing is a minor mitzvah. We don't stop. We don't interrupt what we're doing to do the other one. We finish what we are doing. Yeah, but that's maybe a bad example, because sitting in a sukkah is a part of it. You can come back. But let's say now something minor, shiluch haken, chasing away the bird to take it, is a minor mitzvah. I don't do that. If I see that I'm busy with that, chasing the bird away so I can take his eggs, and it's a funeral procession for a tzaddik. Do I now stop doing the shiluch haken to follow the funeral procession? But first do shiluch haken and then try to catch up to the funeral procession. They're both mitzvot. And being a part of a funeral procession for a mace, just uncovered her mace, particularly of a tzaddik, is definitely of a high level than shiluch haken. No, I was busy with the one already. I finished the one I was busy with. Doesn't matter, even though the second one, I now see the funeral procession coming along, even though that is greater, I don't stop what I'm doing. Yes. But there's a lot of different factors in that. It's not as simple. It's not a simplistic answer. There's a lot of different variables in that. Who was the Leviah for? Who was he studying with? What impact would it have? Could they have a minion without him? You can't. So if he's going wouldn't make a minion, then do what you're busy with. You're busy with the mitzvah, complete it. If it knows now a case of you're going to go, you need to make a minion, then it's a different story. Then there's an obligation. Yeah, then it's a different story. But anyway, so now they say now they're saying once you start doing a mitzvah, complete it. Unless for some reason you're not merit to finish it. Our sages, our sages best exhorted us this many times. They said, whoever begins a mitzvah but fails to complete it buries his wife and children. That's in Midrash Rabbah. Midrash Bereshis Rabbah. They also said a mitzvah is attributed only to the one who completes it. Rashi to Devarim, but that actually we find it's a bit of maybe not quite so clear, because you get other sources say that God gives us merit for the intention, but we don't get the merit for completing it unless we complete it. If you had the intention to do a mitzvah, you started doing it, but then you didn't complete it for some reason. You got some merit, but not what you could have got. You don't get the same as if you had completed it. And King Shlomo, peace be on him, said, see a man diligent in his business, he will stand before kings, he will not stand before obscure men. That's from Mishlei, Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29. Our sages, may their memory be blessed, attributed this phrase to Shlomo himself for making haste in the building of the temple, not idling it or delaying it. In similar fashion, they interpret the verse in reference to Moshe, peace be on him, for hastening the construction of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle. Not surprised he doesn't mention here, because also for the conducting of the war with Moab after Bilam. He knew that after that war, he was going to die. And yet he did not delay. They said he had to go and select the people, because the rest of Bnei Israel knew the same thing, and they didn't want him to die. So he said, come, let's go to war. And the Midrash says they weren't too keen. He said, yeah, we'll get there. He says, come, I need the guys. Yeah, we're coming. He had to go and fetch them, force the issue. Because the mitzvah in his hand then, that mitzvah was to conduct the war. And he took and he went and he did it. So you will find that whatever the righteous do, they always execute with haste. And it is written regarding Abraham, and Abraham hastened to the tent of Sarah and said, hurry, knead 3 seahs of flour, and he gave the calf the land, and he hurried to prepare it. This is when the 3 angels came to him in Bereshis chapter 18. So he hurried. Now you can think about it. How long does it take to roast a lamb? It was not a short process. This is why he first took them cheese and milk. And it's because he says at first he took them milk and cheese. And afterwards he brought them the lamb. You couldn't sit them and leave them waiting for an hour or 2 hours after they prepared the lamb. At first he brought them something milky to eat, then he brought them the meat. And then once after the other, kind of meat after milk. Then you can see, they're saying once again, you want to see another one of the Imahot, one of our foremothers, how she hurried to do what she did. So, and she hastened and emptied her jug into the trough and ran again throughout to draw water, and to draw water for his camels. This was when Eliezer was out trying to find a wife for Yitzchak. And he comes to the well, and Rivka says, I'll go and I'll draw water for your camels. The thing, drawing water for the camels, she might not have been that keen, she might have taken the time. It says she hastened, she ran to do it. She did not delay the performing of the mitzvah, which is the ultimate aim of this tray of alacrity. And similarly, they said in the Midrash, and the woman hastened, she ran and told her husband, this was from Shoftim in Judges, this teaches that whatever the righteous do, they execute with haste. They allow no time to elapse before undertaking mitzvah or seeing it through to completion. So when it comes to the second part of the tray of alacrity of doing it, the performance, we can see how important it is that we should do it quickly. We should not have a chance that the mitzvah passes away from us. You will observe, the Ramchal continues, you will observe that a person whose soul burns in the service of his Creator will surely not be lazy in the performance of his mitzvot. Rather, his movement will be like that of a quick-spreading fire, for he will neither rest nor pause till he brings his deed to full completion. Consider also that just as alacrity is born of an inner ardor, so too does it engender ardor. That is, just as a person who rouses himself to the performance of mitzvah quickens his outer motion, so too does he find his inner emotion, causing his passion and purpose to continually gain strength. But if he is lethargic in the movement of his limbs, the movement of his spirit will also die down and be extinguished. To this, experience will attest. They're saying when it comes to this travelacry of performing mitzvot quickly, not letting them pass, it is not just talk, not just intellectual exercise, physical exercise. You can see from some of these examples. Abraham ran to Sarah to say, prepare the food. Rivka ran to draw the stuff from the things. The travelacry when performing mitzvot, returning is referring to the physical as well as to the spiritual. We should get up quickly in the morning and go to shul. And when we davening at shul, we should be davening with our attention and everything. And over here, with alacrity does not mean that we have to daven fast, but that we have to have the intention to complete it and not stop till it is completed. As you often do when you arrive late and you finish after everyone else, because you complete it. That is where it should be. That is alacrity. Not saying, I can go have a cup of coffee and I'll finish it afterwards, but finishing it then and then going on. That is the true alacrity of taking it to completion, not just performing it. Indeed, so the Ramchal continues, indeed you already know that the aspect of the service of the Creator, blessed be his name, that is most desired, is the heart's desire, the soul's longing for him. As it says in the Torah, that what does God want from us but to be holy and to walk in his ways, that is, to love him and to walk in his ways. This is what King David meant when he gloried in his good portion, saying, as the heart yearns for the water's brooks, heart is in the ear, so my soul yearns for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? Tehillim 42. My soul longs and pines for the court of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. Tehillim 84. My soul thirsts for you, my flesh longs for you in dry, thirsty land where there is no water. Tehillim 63. But all of these are all David HaMelech expressing how he wants to go and how he's got this drawing to do this stuff. Not just do it quickly, but he's got this intense desire to do it, which draws him to do it quickly. Because it's something that we truly want. We don't delay doing it. And that's how we should be with mitzvot. There should be something that we truly want that we don't delay doing. There's something that we just have to do now and not delay. Just as with those other things in our lives that we have to do without delay because we can't live without it. Therefore, the man in whom this longing does not burn as it should would be well advised to bestir himself by force of will, so that as a result, such longing will become part of his nature. For outward movements arouse inner emotions, and surely the former is more given to his control than the latter. So we're saying this do the outward motions with haste, whatever, even if you don't necessarily feel it at that time. Because eventually you will come to feel it. It's the same thing as it says in the Talmud, that a person should do mitzvot even if he's doing it for ulterior motives. Because eventually he will come to do it for the correct motives. That the outer action, that continuously repeating something outwardly, eventually affects you inwardly. But if he utilizes that which is within his control, he will as a result acquire even that which is beyond his control. Just this repetition, we can control our outward, but through doing the outward, the inner will come about. For inner joy, desire, and longing will be engendered in him by the fervor that his freely will movement has produced. This is what the prophet meant when he said, let us run to know the Lord. This is from Hosea chapter 6, verse 3. And it is written, Hosea also continued right in a later chapter, thou shalt go after the Lord who shall roar like a lion. So this travelacry we see is it comes back to the very first part, the very first part of Shulchan Aruch, which says, get up in the morning like a lion. We should be getting up and we should be going forth, and we should have that intense desire to do all the mitzvot and to complete them. And if we've got those two elements of alacrity to quickly go and do it and to stick with it, have the desire to for completion, then those are the elements of the tribe alacrity. And we'll finish off tonight. That finishes chapter 7. Continue next week with chapter 8. How do we come about having this tray of alacrity so that we can put it into practice?